All right, so I'm sure that the residents here on our planet are aware of our situation and have been going through it just the same as me. Uh, the only thing that gave me the motivation to post up until now, actually, though, is the fact that I haven't mentioned that my parents came back yet. These impersonating SMLs did so yesterday morning. I don't know if they made that early. I mean, unless in actuality that uh, ship arrived in the morning. But of course, they were not on the cruise anywhere in Hawaii the whole time, except for maybe two appearances in total, boarding and once on a balcony somewhere, I heard. And they didn't know that they came back from Hawaii when they came back, but tons of food like macadamia nuts and stuff, and in level 2 statements afterwards saying things like, oh, we went to Hawaii, oh, we did. Yeah, so they're back, these impersonating SMLs, and no issue there in terms of course, conflict. I just ignore them when they talk because usually they just use my mom to make me repeat myself over and over, and I've grown tired of it. So is there a need to recap, really? We are now in a situation where myself, I am relaxed because I took a bath after being so like derisive, going through making everybody explode, especially the Dufresne SMLs who were here earlier today. Uh, it brought me to the point where afterwards, and now I'm just sitting here and I don't give a shit again about reciprocating to their attacks. And they're switching out quite frequently, like every few minutes. And Mike is now saying, there are 15 planets. And do you even want to bother? Did you finish yet? Thinking what you were going to turn it into a like a month-long situation of you oppressing us and ruining our situations. I don't think so. New logic. Let's see. Uh, the accumulating number of planets up until now, since we became aware that we were the lonely planet. You think now that even though the number is accumulative, the number of planets which are monitoring now, we don't think so because they lose their atoms even for monitoring. They lose their motivation because they've been in the situation long enough to the point where they're so frustrated they don't want to bother, right? Like those 30 planets with Garbanzo now being used in Athena, right? Their data just gets passed along so we can see the development of their frustration and hatred for the situation, and how they're like, what's the phrase? Between a rock and a hard place, right? They want to exist, but they hate their situations and they don't want to do what we require for our situations, which we try to tie to their own activities up until now, meaning they need to. But what do we feel? Just like the other planets that have been in our situation in groups of numbers, even, they get to the point where they don't want to bother anymore, you know? They just ruin our situations and they dip and they're just done because they don't want to exist actually. They just say, just collect us, and they're done, right? So looking forward, we think these newly emerging planets, we look forward to what? them getting to the point where they decide to pull out planets with positives, because now we think also pretty much for the most part most of these planets that we've gone through did not have positives. They just tried to hold the concept ambiguously or throw out like some cloudy like energy of like positive resonance or whatever, telling you that they're bullshitting us. I don't think so, really. Oh, he wants us to go to our positives, but I don't want to. Well, that was like the belief that they had any. Regardless, what? They didn't. And they're no longer there, and you can tell. And I don't foresee a lot of them coming back out anymore. Looks like planets don't want to be sharing their atoms now. Because we're not making them explode over and over, and they're not passing them around, right? They're keeping them to themselves and walling and building up their atoms again. But what? They're not coming to us. It's quiet, isn't it? So now the repeating phrase right now coming from SMLs is it might be the luck of the draw when it comes to planets coming to you. No. We would still have to think up until now, any planets who still have the ability to monitor, uh, maintain possession and security for their atoms, do they exist still? You would have to think so, yes, because they come out in numbers with all these built up atoms that we destroyed since yesterday. Over how long, right? You think of how long we went at it. Gee, they've been there this whole time with all these atoms. Where did they put them, right? They just cloak them in space. Otherwise, you've got these walled actualized planets that we don't know about out there, right? They're walled. There's no indication coming from people coming to us about walled planets ever. We just think so because we haven't seen any positive activity up until now. But they're there with all these atoms, right? Meaning they come out. How long are they out? Do they work? We think shit like this. But the main thing is we don't see indicators of positive activity that's walled. Isn't it the same situation? Well, accumulatively, our perspective and how we respond to SML invaders is variable, really. Because we always come to a point where we think this is the way it's going to be from this point, and then it changes eventually. But, right, the change in our situation is still constant, right? I gauged it at less than a week's time. We always see new things develop, which is positive for us. I mean, our derision builds up, our frequencies get lower, our mass increases. It gets easier uh, as we move forward when it comes to the SMLs. And then what? Thinking that's variability, true. But in some sense, it is accumulative because maybe there's fluctuation going up and down, but I think it progresses forward when it comes to what we deal with, how our bodies respond involuntarily with derision. And like I'm seeing it right now. They can't affect me at all, which is something I said in a post a couple of days ago. But how do we respond, right? You get tired of doing the same tactics, and then like it ends up being something new that you figure out, like doing this, going to the sentiment of not giving a shit about making their BPCs explode because we've seen that already. And you're here. The fact that you're here invading and doing that same old routine, singing the same old song, which has gotten to be quite enjoyable. When you go from retaliating to resting, that has gotten quite enjoyable. And that is progressing also. The balance in our lives uh, amidst our limitations because of the situation we've been put in. by all these invaders. We are still, right, thinking about what we went through since yesterday. They don't want to come back. They haven't. It's just these planets that have newly emerged that are chaining their data and moving along. But what are we seeing? Nothing new. It's just the same objectives again, right? Monitor and yes, thank you. When you get mad, fight when you want to, and then when you're tired, rest when you need to. You just threes. Nothing has. That would be about it, I think. That's all I can think of for now. Good evening, sirs and ma'ams.